There are entire industries built around problems people don't want to talk about. And when that's the case, sales, marketing, and growth don't work the way we think they do. Today's conversation explores what it really takes to build trust, create demand, and lead in a space where your customer may not even want to admit they need what you offer. Welcome to Deals with Heels. I'm Debra, your host, and this is where we go beyond the surface of business, leadership, and sales and into real decisions that shape how we grow. Today, I'm joined by Lauren Barker. Lauren is the CEO and co-founder of Uresta, an FDA-cleared bladder support device designed to help women live leak-free. After a decade in finance, she made the move into Femtech, leading the expansion of a product into a category many people have been taught to keep quiet about. She's built a growing brand and community by approaching a deeply personal topic with honesty, humor, and a focus on restoring confidence, not just solving a problem. Lauren, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Deborah. I'm excited to be here.
I am so excited to have this conversation. We have lots of people that offer a lot of services and products, but it's not often I have somebody that has a product like yours and that has such a unique transition going from finance into Femtech and product marketing and product development. And I want to start with that kind of transition. And what about doing that changed how you look at customers?
So, moving from finance to, you're a big jump, obviously. I get asked quite a bit about how that transition came to be. So I started my career in finance, very corporate. I started investment banking, private equity. So I'm everywhere from leading, initial public offerings to buying majority stakes in businesses, buying businesses, selling businesses. But what Uresta, we were founded by a physician, Dr. Scott Farrell. He's a urogynecologist, still very much involved. And he was looking for capital and to support his business venture. And I had the opportunity to, kind of by luck, really, I just met him. I don't think, I think there's not as many women in finance. And, I think having that female perspective, I think is how it sort of landed on my desk and the opportunity to sort of meet him. And kind of initially, I was just sort of like, this is kind of interesting. I'm happy to help you raise capital for your business, and starting to get to know the product and just the need and how big of a quality of life issue it is for women and how big of a gap there was in the market really pulled me in. And kind of what started as sort of side of the desk project ended up becoming a full-time passion for me. And I think I was just kind of blown away. I think there's not really many industries, very few, where you can find a big market where there's a really truly like underserved need. And then layer that on top with it being like a women's health issue. It was very, the whole story, the whole product was very inspiring. And it's something that I knew I had to be a part of.
It's such a great story. Like my volume is kind of messed up.
Yeah.
Such a great story. And I know that it has kind of a stigma about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that women want to talk about. And the cough, sneeze lingo, most women, especially my age, would really understand. But anyone that's given birth has had that whole feeling also. And I do think there's been a stigma about people not wanting to talk about it. It's a tough conversation to have. And when you're selling something like that, that's tied to something embarrassing, it's hard to build trust. What helps you build trust in that space? What actually works?
So it's interesting because, I think you're exactly right. I look at our business and I think, we're selling a product that a lot of women don't want, right? Or don't want to admit because they have this condition. I mean, we've really leaned into real women sharing their real experiences. is, the best advertisements have come from women who are just genuinely sharing their experience with Uresta and bladder leaks. And it's crazy to me how quickly women will resonate with that story. And so I think really diving into having our customers be our loudest, spokespeople for the brand, really leaning into education and stats. So, we are the most clinically evaluated solution in for stress urinary incontinence in females. So, and with that comes pelvic floor physios and physicians that are willing to recommend our products. So leaning it towards them for education, but also building trust. And I think, and also, leaning into the stats and showing how prevalent this is. Like, this is a 1 in 3 women will experience this after the age of 30, and that only goes up. So it's 1 in 2 by time of menopause. So leaning into those stats and showing women like this is a very common issue and absolutely nothing to be ashamed about. And then I think the third thing we really focus on, I think this is really important, is humor. Really trying to lighten it up a little bit. I think when we're all sort of laughing at the same joke about bladder leakage, then we all realize, okay, I'm actually like not alone in this. And it's a way that we can sort of destigmatize it in a lighthearted way without, I think just highlighting, like, let's be honest, no one wants to pee their pants and no one wants to admit to it. But if we're all sort of laughing and finding humor in it, it makes it a lot easier.
I love that. I love all of those things, but I really love humor. And I have always had a way of being able to build a campaign around something
Yeah.
funny or humorous. And now there's so much focus on branding that the rest of demand building doesn't always happen. Humor is great for visibility. It's not always great for demand building. But in your instance, it's fantastic for demand building because you're not convincing someone that they need something. They know they need it. They just don't want to enter the conversation about it.
Totally. And I think also they want to enter the conversation. Maybe they don't want to fully admit that they need it as well. Yeah.
Right. Because that, especially if, I don't, for me, old is 20 years older than me, no matter how old I am.
Right. Yeah.
That's just the thing. And I don't ever want to put myself in that category. And as you get older, and I'm in the 1 and 2, I'll be 60 later this year.
Mhm.
And lots of my friends have this issue, and dealing with it and talking about it and feeling comfortable talking about it, feeling comfortable talking to your doctor about
Totally.
it,
Yeah.
knowing which doctor to talk to about it
Right.
is
Yeah.
also a thing. So once you
Yeah.
kind of have broken the ice a little bit,
Mhm.
and someone's like, okay, I admit that I need something. What is that, a primary care doctor, OBGYN? Because not everybody has just a urologist standing by,
Totally.
especially when
Yeah.
half of us have the problem. So it feels really normal.
Yeah. So it would be a urogynecologist, but you're right. Like, you would have to be referred. And I mean, it's a little bit different in the States, but we're a Canadian-based company. Like, here in Canada, women are waiting, over 2 years to see a urogynecologist to discuss their options. And maybe, there's a lot of women that for them, it's like, what, I leak when I go for a run. And I go for a run a few times a week, or, it's occasional when I have a really bad cold, or we were just talking about allergy season, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for them, maybe they're like, I don't want to go under the knife for that, right? And so,
No.
I think women want solutions that are self-managed too. Okay, so let's cut out even just going to the doctor in general, waiting several months to see them, get recommended a solution, right? And then they're also wanting like non-invasive solutions as well, right? So, if this is something that you're suffering from, I mean, yes, you can absolutely bring this up with your primary care, who then refer you. We also work with a lot of pelvic floor physios, so trying to rehab the muscle. So if you think about Uresta, we always say, let's say you sprained your ankle. Okay. And it was like a really bad sprain. You might go and then get an ankle brace. And then you're going to go see a physiotherapist and you're going to do your exercises And then you're going to get to a place where your ankle is feeling better. And so you're going to stop wearing that ankle brace. Or maybe you still need to rely on that ankle brace, during exercise. Uresta is kind of the same. Physio and Uresta are sort of the same. Like you're working on rehabbing the muscle, but this is like an extra support tool that you can always sort of rely on to kind of protect you under those moments of pressure, which would be like coughing and sneezing and jumping. So pelvic floor physios, to answer your question, would be, pelvic floor physios and then getting a referral to your gynecologist.
So it's prescription. It's not something that's
So our
available.
product does not require prescription. So, and that was a big focus of our product, because if you look at sort of the landscape of solutions today for bladder leakage, you have your super accessible options like pads or leak-proof underwear, right? So, and our research has shown that's what 80% of women are using is absorbent products, which aren't really doing anything to manage their quality of life. And then on the other side, you have surgery or pelvic floor physio, which is either, in the less accessible, right? You're needing a referral, you need money, you need time, possibly go for surgery, right? So we are filling a gap in the market in the sense that we're over the counter. We don't require a prescription. We don't require any, physician intervention, but we're actually stopping the leaks from happening. So we're improving women's quality of life. We're not just catching them like a pet.
Fantastic. I think that's a big deal. It's not that I don't want people to go to their doctor if they're having a problem, but if there's a way to solve it, I don't go to the doctor for every headache I get either.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a way for me to solve it on my own.
Totally.
And so I love that, to make it so accessible. And that makes it easier because it's an embarrassing issue. You don't have to talk to a bunch of people to solve it either.
Totally. And if surgery is something you're considering, like this is such a prevalent issue. And we've had women who've taken their names off the wait list for surgery because Uresta was that effective. But there's many solutions out there. I just want women to know that there's like pads and absorbent products aren't one and shouldn't be one, right? So there's a lot better options out there that can improve your quality of life. We're obviously trying to solve a big gap in the market there and something that's very accessible to women.
Thank you. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fantastic. I'd like to move into kind of the community discussion. You've done a really good job of building a community that the word can spread through.
Yeah.
Right. And I know women that have done it for networking or that have built really big paid Facebook community, those types of things. But yours is a little bit different. Tell us about your community.
So, we have our Facebook group. So we have a few different ways I think about our community. Our biggest way would be our Facebook group. So we have like almost 10,000 women in there now. And some are Uresta users, some are not. And it's become a really safe space for women to talk about not just bladder leakage, but other pelvic health issues. I think a really, a big issue that isn't necessarily talked about is pelvic organ prolapse. So we have a lot of women coming on there and being like, hey, this is my experience. This is what, I'm experiencing. This is what I've tried. I'm on the fence about trying Uresta. One thing that's great is, listen, don't take it from us. Listen to the real women who are using Uresta. And we have these women that jump in who, will be like, try Uresta. I was, similar to you. I wish I had Uresta 20 years ago. And so what I love about our product and our customers and our community is that because it is such a game-changing product, like other women want to help other women. Like I hear this all the time from women. I wish I knew about you guys 15 years ago, or I wish you existed 15 years ago, right? Because this is a chronic issue. Like this is for some women a daily issue. And once you have it, it doesn't really go away. And so this is something like you might have for a very long time, right? So other women are they really want to help each other. And that's what I love about our Facebook group is people supporting one another, giving advice. If someone tries the product and has a question, like our customer care team is in the Facebook group every single day, responding to, but sometimes our customers get to those questions before we do, which is like amazing. Like they're like,
that's a sign of a great group. If that's happening in your group, then your group is doing well, because that's the benefit of it, is they help so much when your product has so many satisfied customers, and there is such a great push for women to
Totally.
support one another, because let's face it, we're
Totally.
harder on each other than we don't need men to be mean to us.
Yeah.
We're mean enough. So I love
Yeah.
the community
No,
part, but it's
it's
such a
great.
great example of how to do it and what it looks like when it's happening and it's right.
Yeah,
So
it's a really great feeling. I love to go into that group. It warms my heart to see our customers helping each other. And I think it also just like this condition in general, like because it is, it's an embarrassing issue, it's a taboo issue, but I also think there's just such a gap in the market that women are going to Google and they're searching and they're trying to find explanations or better solutions. And they're doing a lot of their own research. And so you see that in the group. You see women trying to educate themselves and really figure out, how to address these issues like stress incontinence and pelvic organ prolapse. And yeah, it's just really powerful to see. It truly warms my heart. It's like one of my favorite things that we've created here.
and conversation does such a great
Yeah.
job of building demand, like within that group. How else are you using communities? You said you have a couple of different ways.
Yeah, well, I think, what we see in the Facebook group, it's a private group, it's a safe group. So I think people are a little bit more open, but we've done a lot on social media. So, Meta, formerly known as Instagram and Facebook, right? So lots of
Mhm.
women comment on our ads and I love it. They're like, I've been using this product and it's the best thing ever. And I just love to see that. And then I think just really, every time we see a happy customer post, we're reaching out. We're like, hey, would you do a video testimonial for us? Would you leave a review? Would you do, how else can we amplify your experience? And so, like I said, like I think building on kind of my earlier point of like, this is a very taboo issue, but when real women, not an actor, but a real women talk about their experience, it's so genuine that it resonates so quickly. So yeah, that's really has been an important piece of the puzzle for
And they're
us.
so happy to have that damn
I know.
problem solved,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah,
they're so
totally.
happy.
Yeah, and
Yes.
entrepreneurship it's hard, right? And those are the messages. I get emails all the time. And I get emails from women who are like, listen, I'm not really comfortable in sharing my story publicly, but here's my story. I mean, they brought me to tears more times than I can count. And like, I feel like they always come at a time where it's like, maybe it's a really hard week or, something has happened, but it's like the biggest motivation for sure is to hear their stories.
I think a
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
content idea for those anonymous stories is to
Yeah.
do a whole post or video series about it's a taboo topic people aren't comfortable talking
I know.
about. Here's some examples, and then just fly them all out that are
Yeah.
from anonymous. And
Yeah.
there's so much of it. So you're not
Totally.
alone.
Totally. I
Not
agree.
alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes the creativity just
Just
comes when it comes,
I
right?
know. I know. No, it's a very good point for sure.
Because their voices matter, even though they're not in an
Yeah,
area
you're
where
right.
they're really willing to be vulnerable out in the open.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
when they can do it and you can highlight it, and then also comfort the people that are feeling that way but are scared to talk about
Right.
it.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
big thing.
Totally.
You're doing such a great job marketing to that group. And I wanted to talk about customer feedback, and it's so important. Customer experience is so important, and focusing on it,
Mhm.
it's open for you. They all
Totally.
scream from because they're so happy. But what surprised you the most when you started getting customer feedback?
You know what? I don't know if there's anything that surprised me. I mean, I think, sometimes, as an entrepreneur, I think it's first off, it's very important to get feedback, to have those feedback channels. Like I can't really talk about it. Hopefully it's live in a couple months, but we are making a bit of a tweak to the product based on feedback that we've gotten. And I think that's so important to continue to evolve and to listen to feedback. At the same time, as I say that, I think it's also important as an entrepreneur to understand that like you can overwhelm yourself if you take in every little bit of feedback, right? And so trying to understand like what works for the masses, sometimes there might be a small sliver of the market where it just doesn't work, and that's okay. Or maybe that feedback, isn't, you have to really make sure if you're, that you're incorporating feedback that is for the majority and not just a small percentage of the market, and not
Right.
be
Because you
overwhelmed
will,
because you can be pulled in so many different directions.
and you trying to modify it to please everyone, it
Yeah.
is never going to work.
And also like taking a step back, and one of the things we're working on is I feel like we can always do better, but I think like education, more support post-purchase, more visual, like we have a lot of written education, but we're working on like a video educational series that I think will help bridge a lot of the gaps that are kind of coming out as feedback, but maybe, there might need to be better education.
Right. So if
Yeah.
there's an issue, it may not be the product, it may be usage of the product, and like
Hmm.
they're not understanding the right way to do it, to
Yeah.
install it, to do all of the things.
Yeah.
And it is hard to demonstrate that in
It
video.
is. It is. It is. It is very, we are a vaginally inserted device, so you can understand how that would be difficult. I mean, a lot of women don't know a lot about their pelvic floor and their muscles, and there's a lot of education just in that, right? So we're working with pelvic floor physios to better explain how the product works, working with 3D models, that sort of thing. But it is hard to fully communicate exactly
Yeah.
visually, right?
Yep, that is definitely going to
Yeah.
be a challenge. But
Yeah.
I think also a great point is that if you take all of that stuff personally and you
Hmm.
really, even if you're not taking it personally, it's hard not to. If you're an entrepreneur, there's
Hmm.
a certain amount
Totally.
of it.
Yeah.
Your product and services is such a big part of you and who you are that it's hard not to take it personally.
Yeah.
But when you do, and you get to the point where you're resenting your customer
Hmm.
feedback, now you've really crossed over into burnout
Mhm, mhm,
and need to take a step back. We don't make good decisions from that
mhm,
place as
mhm.
leaders, as individuals, as business owners, and trying to ingest all of it rather
Right.
than look at patterns and all
Mhm,
of those things in particular
mhm.
can really be hard. And we're already struggling with everyday things burning us out. So,
Yes.
which brings me kind of to another part I wanted to talk about is the this issue, women having it affects our day-to-day mindset and
Totally.
how we view life, our emotional regulation, how we treat somebody after we've just had that accident.
Yeah.
Let's dive into that a little bit and talk
Mhm,
about really the reliefs that they can find, but also having to deal with all of that and how even transitioning to not having to do it sometimes is, I
mhm.
think that's partially why they're so excited. What do you think?
Totally. I mean, one of the things I feel like it's like the theme of the call is like customer feedback. I mean, the customer is at the root of everything we do. Yeah. Before we launched in the US, we did an extensive survey. We did customer interviews. It's like one of my favorite things to do. And, we just for background, we had launched originally in Canada, and then we had went through an FDA process and then launched in the US very late 2024. So it's been just over a year. But, you know, so I've been at this now for a little over 4 years, and I am still shocked at the way that women will reorganize their lives and their day to combat bladder leakage. And I've done a number of surveys, a number of customer interviews. I mean, I have heard things like, I bought my house because of the proximity of the washroom to my bed. Like, I've talked to women who will tell me, like, I'm a real estate agent. It's a faux pas to go to the washrooms in the house that, you're showing. So I have a map of the city of the cleanest washrooms, right? Because I think we all know as women, like there are some pretty disgusting public
Yeah.
washrooms out there. But like that's like I have, women, it's like I have extra underwear in my desk, in my car. Someone told me she had to ask a colleague to go and grab a fresh pair of underwear from her desk. Like, the humiliation, like, I cannot imagine, right? So, and then it's things like, I think it's things like, and talk about, I think we hear this so much now, but it's so important to be, like, physically active and, one, for longevity, but two, also, like, women's mental health too, right? And then you have something that's like your personal escape, right? That's your stress relief is going for a run, and then the entire time you're peeing your pants, and it's just aggravating you further. Like, it always shocks me. I'm always like, I think I've heard it all, and then I haven't. I hear something new, and I think sometimes women don't realize how much it was holding them back until they're actually, when they actually stop, experiencing bladder leakage, and they realize how much mental space it was taking up in their lives, right?
And regular
Yeah.
time.
I
And
mean, we have enough to worry about. We have enough to do. And yeah, it's just one more thing, you know, on our minds. And yeah, I think women always kind of like, that's what I hear a lot from women is like, I was just surprised at how much it was actually really truly holding me back. Maybe they were a little bit in denial about it, but sometimes you just don't realize it. It's just become so ingrained in your routine, you know?
it's like the old
Yeah.
Britain's stiff upper lip. We're just going to endure.
And we've been taught to
And
do that
we
too,
have
right?
been
Yeah,
conditioned by
totally.
society and by the system. Our health problems didn't matter as much, our
Yeah,
pain and inconvenience. Well, you'd be a lot
yeah.
prettier if you just smile more, right? I'm that
Right, yeah.
generation
Yeah,
where it was all of that and was very independent child and
yeah.
spent a lot of decades watering
Mhm,
myself down to make people feel comfortable. And so
mhm.
we are really conditioned to not talk about it, and
Yeah,
it's not proper to talk about such private things. There's a whole
totally.
bunch of that generation that's out there, and they're the ones suffering the most right now because they're the boomers. They're older than us.
100%. Like, I mean, my mom's in her 60s. Like, we've talked about how she was raised and, when she first learned about what a period was, right? Versus like my experience. And, I think even like pregnancy, perimenopause, menopause. And I think like the women in their 30s and 40s are educating themselves. They're advocating for themselves. They're also a lot more open, I find. And I think a lot of it is social media.
I do
Like, I
too.
think the conversation is really, and I do believe in some respects, I think COVID sort of helped with that because and I know for us, like, we worked with like a lot of pelvic floor physios and a lot of like women's health experts that weren't really working, but because they were non-critical. So they were at home and they didn't have much to do, but they were turning to Instagram and they were sharing like free information and resources. And I mean, we saw a lot of conversation around pelvic health during the pandemic.
I think that is amazing. And I always talk about how important connection is, human connection is.
Totally.
There's lots of conversations about AI
Yeah.
and sales
Yeah.
and human
Yeah.
connection. And look, in COVID, we couldn't get
Mhm.
that day to day. And even if you're an introvert, you have to have human connection. It's
Totally.
such an important part. And so it
Totally.
makes sense that it built in that area and really grew during COVID, the ability to have those conversations. But that is so spot on
Yeah.
for generationally speaking. So if you're out there suffering, stop it. Stop suffering. It's not necessary. There
Mm,
is a great solution that doesn't cost thousands of dollars of going to the doctor and having diagnoses and procedures. And
mhm. I
there's probably
agree.
a lot of procedures that I've never had a procedure at a urologist that wasn't painful. And,
Yeah.
you can avoid all of those things
Yeah.
and at least try something that's over the counter that could solve it and change your life without any of those efforts
Totally.
and the money spent. It's such a big deal. It's so
Mhm.
liberating and
Mhm.
empowering to people to have something such a huge part of their life
Yeah.
gone, just
Yeah.
gone. It has
Yeah.
to be, and it has to be obvious. It's like when someone quits smoking and now they don't go outside every 3 hours and take a break,
Mhm.
and they don't. So there's big parts of what they used to do with their time that are gone.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, not something that you got to grieve.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That makes it really awesome
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
able to have that.
Yeah.
For someone that's building a business, we're getting close to the end.
Yeah.
But I want to ask this last question and
Yeah.
then we'll get into your call to action so we can see where we can find of your information.
Mm-hmm.
For someone that's building a business where their customer is hesitant or unsure, or it's in that kind of a taboo topic, where's the first thing they should focus on?
Get a few people to try the product, get genuine, real customers, and build like reviews, social proof, I think is really everything. It's something we really focused on early on. That means gifting away a lot of your product. Just get those initial users and get that initial traction and build that social proof and amplify that through, video testimonials. And like I said, I feel like I keep saying it, but social proof and sharing real stories is, I think, what really moves the needle, especially early on for like taboo topics that people don't really want to talk about. Yeah.
And I do a lot of stuff about buying personalities and I
Mhm.
had to
Yeah.
I've been doing it so long I had to make an adjustment
Hmm.
because of social proof and how much it grew because
Right.
of social media. And so I had to add in those influencers as heavily influenced by, but I think that expands
Hmm.
in a market like yours where it's taboo. Now that social proof becomes everything because that's the only place people are talking about it. And it makes people
Hmm.
feel really comfortable. And so
Yeah.
that buying personality is so spot on for you to focus on that. And
Hmm.
it's shown in the results.
Yeah. No, for sure. Agreed. Absolutely.
I want to give you a moment to tell us where they can find out more about
Yeah.
Uresta and purchase it
Hmm.
or get more information so they can read about it and all of those
Absolutely.
things, and
Yeah.
perhaps about you as well. Lots of
Hmm.
times my guests get in, people are interested in their story and they'd like to learn
Totally.
more.
Yeah, I realized we didn't really touch on exactly what Uresta is, but Uresta is so it's a solution, if you haven't figured it out by now, for bladder leaks caused by sneezing or jumping or laughing. Our product essentially it inserts vaginally and is supporting your bladder from within. And it's going to stop those leaks under pressure. So if you go to run or do a jumping jack or sneeze, it's going to kind of keep everything in place and stop those leaks. The key thing is that it will stop the leaks, but this is the crazy part. You can still pee with it in. It's a reusable product. We doesn't require a prescription. If you're interested in learning more, we currently only sell through our website, which is uresta.com. So check it out. You can learn more. You can read all of our reviews. If you want to join that Facebook group, we're the Uresta Insider Group on Facebook. And then, yeah, if you want to learn more about me, again, there's like a huge About Us page on our website. There's a page about all of our research, all the clinical studies that have been done on the product, and also always lots going on our Instagram page. So check us out, my Uresta on Instagram, and then Uresta.
Fantastic. And I will link to all of those things in the
Yeah.
show notes so that you can find them easily and be able to get all of the information. I predict there's going to be a lot of people interested in it.
Well, there's certainly, like I said, 1 in 3 women after the age of 30 and 1 in 2 by time of menopause. So lots that can benefit from it.
And I would
Yeah.
agree with that just in my age group, all of my friends. I mean, it is about half of us, right?
Yeah.
Like, really, it's about
Yeah.
half of us that are
Hmm.
having that
Hmm.
issue. So, well, we've come to the end. And if this
Hmm.
conversation resonated with you, if it challenged how you think about growth, demand, and the way your business connects with your customer, then my work lives beyond this podcast in your growth. Thank you. I help business owners step back and diagnose what's actually holding their growth back because often it's not effort, it's misalignment with how your business is built, how demand is created, and how your customer experiences your brand. Something Lauren's very good at. And if you're looking for a place to start, I've created a free resource called the Human Cells Playbook. It will help you understand what's really happening inside your cells process and where trust, clarity, or connection may be breaking down. I will include all of that in the show notes along with Lauren's information. Thank you so much for coming
Thank you,
on,
Debra.
Lauren. I know my audience is going to learn so much, and you have big things in front of you. Until next week, everyone, stand strong in your power, especially when it gets uncomfortable. See you next week.